All right, guys, welcome back to Movie Talks and Chill. This is day
Numero 4.
number 4.
I think we're in September. At this point.
Right. Day 4 of Sunscreen Film Festival. Things are starting to wind down a little bit. You know who we are. Introduce yourself, sir.
Cameron Brumbelow.
And Cameron here has been working. How long have you been doing this at the festival now?
This is, I think it's just my fourth year.
Fourth
So
year?
two
Okay.
years volunteering, 2 years on the board.
Nice. And so let's just kind of kick off with that. This year, 20th anniversary. So it's a
Absolutely.
big year. It was a big event. There was a big party last night. The awards, a lot of great movies, films. From your perspective, like how has it been for you this year, and like what have you seen compared to other years?
Immediately, there was a lot of hype about the 20th anniversary. We had the big opening night movie, Four Down, filmed locally, tragic story with our Coast Guard. A lot of Coasties came in to see it, so we had the, full Coast Guard uniforms and their +1s. So we had a really big opening night. They actually won the best documentary. We didn't know that at the time, but they had a great turnout. What was more impressive to me is the number of documentaries that we had that had huge showings. I had a documentary on, that was adoption related at 10:30 on Friday morning in Theater 1. I had a sellout theater, that is our biggest theater. For our capacity, it's like 175.
Oh wow.
And I don't know if you guys were up here podcasting at the time, but they had a private party here.
Yeah,
afterwards
so
with the cake.
we went to lunch.
Yeah. What we did is just to not get in their way. We were like, hey, we'll kind of step out. So
Copy.
We'll
Yeah,
take
yeah.
our break then.
I mean, we saw a little bit of it here in the, at the beginning and then the end of it, but yeah.
Yeah, so I brought their leftover cake to the volunteers. So that was a win-win. Yes, but that Friday morning, you kick it off like that, and you've got a sold-out theater here. You've got the beginning of the workshops and its distribution. So then you have people who are wanting to be here at 10:30 in the morning, and they just stay. So the whole day was constant, and I don't think I've ever seen that type of volume on a Thursday or Friday before. Other than the opening night when we had Taste of Love a couple of years ago, that was a big opening night. But otherwise, typically Thursday, Friday, you're kind of building up to what you've got going on the weekend, and then obviously yesterday was
Packed.
pandemonium.
Yeah,
yeah.
Yeah, because it's like, as you know, this is like our 4th year, doing this here at Sunscreen. I will say that the first Friday we saw was definitely slower.
Yeah.
I mean, not slow. Don't get me wrong. There was still
in
people.
the
here.
morning it was here and there, but once around when we came back from lunch, it was go.
Yeah.
You can definitely-
From 1 to 4, we were busy.
Yeah, and you can definitely tell the difference. Like, when people are coming out of the theaters, like after the movies, because like when we're talking, all of a sudden you hear this just roar of it's just all these voices going on. So and just piles of people. So I mean,
Our
yes.
biggest problem this year was people wouldn't. They would congregate right outside the
Oh,
theater.
Yeah.
Right?
wow.
Their movie just played. They're all excited. People are giving them kudos. They just did their Q&A for the first time, and they're not moving back into the lobby. They're staying in the hallway. So we've got, of course, the quiet signs. Nobody likes to hear that, but obviously other people want to enjoy their
Yeah.
movies as well. So
Right.
it's finding that balance of, move it, usher them gently to the lobby, and
Yeah, there was-
try and keep everybody happy.
There's a couple of times I got to go use the restroom. Oh wait, no, I can't even see the sign right now. I'll wait until they move.
Yeah, and we had a lot of standby lines. I think a lot of people with the new software this year were using the Inventive software that Gasparilla Film Festival also switched to.
Oh really?
And so, and I'm sure you guys experienced it, but in addition to just having a pass, you have to actually reserve
Yeah.
Right.
a ticket for your seat, and people would see it's like order tickets and they think they have to pay more money, but it was all $0.
Yeah.
It's
But
like
you
that's
still
just-
had to get the ticket.
and so this is our first year doing that. Nobody was familiar with that. So I felt like there was a time that I took one of the big cruise ships where you have to reserve everything on your TV before you go.
Oh,
because
yeah.
there's not enough room for everybody in the theater. And so we ended up in standby on the entire cruise. We got into everything, so it worked out, and most people got in to stuff here. But we, I think in the long run, the software will work better.
Yeah.
Now that we've done it.
And is that helping you also track like metrics for the movies now?
Yes, absolutely. It helps, and there's also a balancing act between the number of tickets that you reserve for purchase versus how many seats you hold back for pass holders. So there were some situations where we, as we went, depending on how popular a movie was for pass holders versus ticket holders, where we had to shift that bar to say, okay, well we're gonna put in more pass holders than we are ticket purchases. Because sometimes if it would fill up, all the pass holders filled up their side, there would still be seats left in the theater, but it would say it was sold out for that type of ticket.
Gotcha.
And I wish there was a way to automatically shift that without us having to.
Like manually go in and.
We had 200 movies. You know, it's like,
Yeah.
how am I going to monitor? And I'm sure that there's like a checkbox in the system where you could get a notification when it's like 95% full or something. We just haven't established that.
Yeah.
You know? We also had a situation with the software where we had the comedian documentary that was originally scheduled on Saturday, and because it ended up overlapping, you know, just technical error, but it was like a 4-minute overlap over another block, so we had to move it. It got rescheduled to Thursday. It didn't send automatic notifications to the people that had already bought the ticket.
No.
So it was, you know, a little disheartening to have that and to tell people like your movie already played on Thursday.
Yeah.
And of course we're issuing a refund and all that, but that's not what they wanted. They didn't want their money back. They wanted to see the movie. But we were able to reschedule them for something else, and I think they were everybody was understanding for the most part.
Well, that's good.
Yeah.
There's always a learning curve when you enter
Yeah.
new stuff. I mean, I
Especially with
think personally-
technology.
No, technology's never failed anybody. Especially
Right.
no, I
Especially
actually
not
have
for
a couple
us.
friends of mine that came up here and they got a couple passes in. They had actually 0 issues, so they were happy
Love
with
it.
it. Yeah, they were like, he had sent me a text on, I think it was Wednesday, because I got the access to the passes, transferred them over into their name, and he sent me a text like, yeah, I'm blocked for this one with his wife, and he's like,
Love
we got
it.
this Friday, this Saturday, and they made every single one of them. So
And I think for some people that makes them more excited for it, right? They're putting some thought into what they're going to attend. They're not just showing up
Yeah.
and being like, what am I going to see today?
Oh, yeah.
So I do think that there is some element to, you can sort of build a little bit of hype over or excitement over, what you're going to be seeing that day and plan ahead.
yeah,
So,
and I like the fact that because I don't know exactly how the system worked beforehand. Like I knew a little bit of the ins and outs of it, but before the QR and like setting up passes. But I think it's a good idea also because like let's say you're super excited, you're coming in, even if you're just a viewer, not even a filmmaker, or if you are a filmmaker, you want to see a different movie, and you're like, I really want to see this movie. It's first come first serve, and you get there.
I
you
got
won't-
turned away from Savage last year.
Yeah, you only find out when you get there. Like at least this way, if it's sold out, ahead of time. So it's like, okay, you can plan ahead for something else. So I think that's where it's going to succeed a lot too.
yeah, I think it helps us plan ahead too. I mean, we can see what the ticket sales are going in. So we knew on 4 Down, for example, we had 2 theaters sell out. So Maxine, our tech person for the projectors, ingested the movie in theater 3 so that if we did need it, and we did end up playing it in 3 theaters, so we just ended up staggering them out. So everybody that was disappointed that they didn't get into theater 1 or theater 2 were like, don't leave. If we have enough people, we will roll it in theater 3. So we had theater 1 that had all the coasties in it, and that was where the Q&A was going to be, and then we had theater 2 that was just filled up. Tony did go in there and do the opening night speech for them. And so we staggered it. It was like 7:15, and then at 7:30, whoever was left that still wanted to see the movie got into theater 3, and I think we still ended up with another 50, 60 people in theater 3. So it was a really good
Oh, wow.
turnout. And I think when we have the software tracking like that in advance, we can prepare for that. So it was like, School Duel that won Best Feature. They were sold out by yesterday afternoon, and I'm getting, texts and calls from the producers like, can you put it on another projector? And I'm like, no, they ingest the movies for the whole day. That's like, if we didn't prepare for it in advance, you can't just go load a DCP on a different projector because the whole day is ingested at once. It's not movie by movie. And it's just a technical thing that we're not able to do. So I'm like, if it was something where I could say I can release more seats and we just won't do ticket sales on that and we'll just do more pass holders on that, that's different than setting up a whole nother theater. So
Right.
even if we had the theater available, we wouldn't have been able to ingest it that fast to be able to play it. So
Oh, it's fantastic, man. Yeah, it's like I said, everything's been great, and we've told Doug and the other guys, but just also what you guys do here to make this experience wonderful is phenomenal, and then the volunteers are incredible. Like everybody's just moving, everybody's on point. It's
thank
not,
you. That's-
it's a great thing.
Yeah, I think we have a good core team now. Some year we did have a little less sign-ups for volunteers this year. I'm not sure why. And then we had a bunch of people show up that didn't really sign up, but they were here to volunteer. So we had everything covered. I think learning the software was, again, the learning curve of that, and learning how to scan people in. I don't know if you guys have experienced with your podcast, but the Wi-Fi here is not spectacular.
Yeah.
So we're old school. We don't log into the Wi-Fi here.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and I tried using the AMC stubs account or whatever. So we ended up buying a hotspot and bringing it. But even it's okay in the lobby. But if you bring the hotspot down there where the scanners are for the barcode or the QR codes, I'm down to like 1, maybe 2 bars at best. And so we basically had volunteers, if they had unlimited data, there is an app that they can put on their phone, and their cell phones were actually doing better than our Wi-Fi scanners. So that, and that was just another thing that the volunteers stepped up and bailed us out, because it would have really slowed things down just waiting. You scan it and you wait, and then it's green, red, whatever, But it became one of those things where it was like, okay, to speed things up, if you're willing to do it, if you don't have unlimited data, we're not asking you to do that. But if you're willing, great, please help us out. And they did, and it's been very smooth ever since. I think we figured that out right with 4 Down on Thursday.
Oh, okay.
So,
How's it been working with the AMC employees? Are they like accommodating to the film crew and all the volunteers and everything?
yeah, I mean, you guys know Mike.
Yep.
Mike's off today, but Mike's been here for the whole thing. I think last year was a little rougher because he had jury duty. So
Oh, really?
Mike wasn't here. But otherwise, yeah. I mean, he bends over backwards for us. Some of the filmmakers bring their own posters and stuff like that, and he'll put them up on the light boxes. I don't know if you saw. Was it Sorority of the Damned? Joe Davidson last night. He brought these like 5-foot posters. Mike figured out a way to put them right over the light boxes. So, yeah, I think AMC is great. I'm really excited for the laser projectors next year, which is it's going to be a little more money, I'm told. But the fact that AMC is putting money into this place, tells me
They're sticking behind their product here.
yeah, and I think they're off to a really good start this year. I think the industry as a whole is going to get busier again.
Well, I also think what helped them as well is they finished the courtyard outside in the sundown.
That was something else I was going to
'cause
bring
last
up.
year-
Did you notice a difference in that?
I noticed the sundial's gone, but
Yeah,
it looks
well,
like
yeah.
right
See,
now.
I have that same. We can't call this sundial anymore. There's
It
no
looks
more.
like a carport. I know that they're supposed to be building a bar around it or something.
Oh,
right?
really?
I think. So I was kind of like the sundial, but it's nice and clean now. I mean,
Well, last year it was a little bit of a hot mess with all the construction going
Absolutely.
on.
Yeah.
that's
even
what I was
crossing the
talking
street
about.
just to get to the crosswalk, it
Yeah.
was like a narrow path getting around there. So yeah, I definitely am glad. I hope they get some good tenants in. And actually, John LaBuddy that sold that last year came on as a sponsor this year to the film festival.
Oh, really?
So, and we're hoping to get him involved more. He owns Goodnight John Boy,
Okay.
and he owns the Big Catch down on
that
the
one.
water. So
Oh yeah.
yeah, and so he's just a commercial realtor here. So Axos Commercial Real Estate is now a sponsor for the film festival. So now that we've got them on board, we're hoping that they'll stay with us, going into the future, and we can start doing. Maybe we'll do the opening night party there or something like that at one of those
okay.
bars and work with them more frequently.
Well, that'd be awesome.
Yeah. I mean, I think he's just kind of a jack of all trades, and he used to own the nightclub, the Big Catch, back in the day. If you guys remember that. Where I had my first ID taken away. So, but
What did you do?
right?
What's the statute of limitations?
Yeah.
Let's not
Yeah.
put anything
I
on the
don't know if I can
internet.
talk about this right now.
There was only so many Asian guys around. They knew the guy. It just wasn't gonna go my way.
Look, we know your brother got in.
Right? I should have gone to Tampa, but
Yeah.
decided to go out downtown.
So for the block today, or the block films, what's the last showing today for Sunday?
You know what? I don't know I was worried about my day starting just because we had 4 blocks going right at 10
Oh,
o'clock.
okay.
I think if I remember correctly, because I looked at the schedule earlier today, there's a feature at 4 o'clock, and
At 4?
I think that's the last one.
Yeah, Sinners.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm not sure exactly. Yeah, I know normally like Sunday is. a
Oh,
little bit-
we're doing the reshowing of 4 Down.
Oh,
today.
really?
For anybody that didn't get to see it,
Mm-hmm.
they're doing a reshowing of that and then a movie called Downtown.
Okay. Yeah,
I think
'cause
Doug's going to see Sinners.
Yeah,
that's well, yeah, because you guys usually do that if there's time or if there's enough space that sometimes the feature that you show on opening night, like on the red carpet night, you sometimes re-show on Sundays. Am I correct? I mean,
Yeah,
that's been a
yeah, and
pretty
especially
common
in
thing.
prior years where we didn't have the other projector set to show it again or take another theater is we would re-show it on Sunday and let those people see it that didn't get to see it when they wanted to see it opening night or one of the other days. So definitely.
And the other question I had is we were talking about you got the gentleman as a sponsor. Have you guys noticed this year as an increase of sponsorship? Has it been about the same? I know there's been some new sponsors because
We definitely made a big push for new sponsors this year. Obviously, Pinellas County, the St. Pete Clearwater Film Commission is still the largest sponsor of the film festival, but they did have to make some changes. I think the other festivals, Dunedin Film Festival, they've all had to make some concessions. So it was on us to get out there and do some networking and bring other sponsors in. Also, Tony wanted to do a bigger, obviously you saw the party last night, and we don't normally pay for the pier or a venue like that for that type of event, but for 20 years it was a pretty good showing.
Yeah.
It just cost a lot of money.
It was a great event, though.
Yeah, and I think again, working on the pass holder wristband, the pier had their policies about what we needed to do to make sure we were checking everybody's IDs and things like that. So I think there were some people that may have not been able to get in to the party, so we might have some ruffled feathers there, and I'm sure we'll get a few complaints coming back on that. But again, that wasn't our discretion.
That's the city's.
Yeah.
The other thing was, of course, just the badges is if you had people who were just getting into town, and of course the box office closed. I kept it open as late as I could, but I was also presenting an award, so I knew awards were at 9:20. So by 9 o'clock, I have to be walking down there. I did walk, so I was like, I didn't change. I didn't have, my wife brought me a shirt. I just put like this Hawaiian shirt on over my work shirt and presented the award. But I know that there were people here late for those last movies that were looking for wristbands or passes that late, and so we brought a bunch of them down there to try and accommodate them. But obviously, again,
You can only do so much.
Yeah. And so I hope they're understanding of that. I hope everybody got in that was supposed to be able to get in. And I did have a couple of people call or text, and I would come out and meet them with a wristband or a pass to try and help them out. But obviously, I don't know 900 people. So
you don't.
Is that how many people showed up last night?
that's what Tony said, that the head count. So I think when we did the James Museum, it was like 700 people.
That was last year, right?
Yeah, it was last year.
And I think this year he was saying it was like 900-ish.
Damn.
It's a big party.
Yeah. I mean, I was there. I didn't seem like 900 people.
Not
but-
everybody was just under the tent.
Yeah, right.
And that was a big tent.
Yeah,
was a big
I never
canopy.
went under the tent at all. I don't think.
We grabbed a table, but it was right next to the DJ booth, so we were trying to talk to each other. It's like,
I couldn't hear anything. I'm already
was-
older as is. Like I'm getting to the point where I may need hearing aids, but having that, he's trying to tell me
What?
something. I'm like, I cannot.
I was sitting right next to you. You could barely hear
I
me.
know.
He looked at me and he said, "Just text me."
We stayed close to the bar. We
Yep.
were at like those pub tables out by the bar. It was just far enough away, and we could still hear the awards and see everything going on, but a little slower pace back in the corner there. You could actually talk to
And
people.
I like those benches that were set up on the
hill,
the
the glowing
hillside.
one?
Yeah, the glow benches. Those were nice.
Yeah, I didn't explore the whole thing. I knew those were there only because Caitlin was sending pictures to the team
Oh,
as
yeah.
we were doing setup and stuff like that. And we're like, that's going to be so cool because, it's this giant tent in the middle of the pier walkway,
I walked all the way up to the top of that hill, and I just got like a little panoramic video of just like the entire view, and that's just amazing. I'm so
Yeah, that's
glad I
cool.
went. Last year I wasn't able to make it. I wasn't feeling too well, but this year I made it a point. Like 20 years, this is going to be dope as hell. I'm making sure to go.
Yep, and that was Tony's impression as well. Like 20 years, we're gonna blow it out this year.
Yep.
You know.
And real quick, going back to the sponsorship, just for people like, if somebody wanted to become a sponsor or a company wanted to become a sponsor, do they just go through the Sunscreen website? How does that work? Or would they contact somebody directly?
They can contact any one of the board members.
Okay.
We all have the sponsorship information. So we've got the handbooks, we've got the forms that they can fill out.
Okay.
But it's also on the website. There's a link right there that just
Okay.
says become a sponsor, and it's I think the minimum sponsorship is $500. That's a contributor sponsor, but it
Okay.
gets you on the big screens, right? So all the movie screens, it's on the website, and it's on all of the publications that they do throughout the festival.
Okay.
So and I think they do some on the advertising as well, depending on how big of a sponsor it is. Even obviously with Pinellas County, their logo's on the step and repeat. So it's,
Yeah.
not everybody's going to contribute quite that much, but
Yeah.
Yeah.
but I think it's good to get it out there, and it's great because we have a lot of good supporters of the arts, and that's what it comes down to is they're not necessarily going to get a whole bunch of business out of it, but they're supporting the arts, and it's good for business, and
Well, that's the biggest thing. Like you said, it's the support structure of it. That I think was what they're getting the most value from. Obviously, company, if they have their logo or their company name, they're gonna hope that people frequent their establishment,
and I hope that
visit
they
their
come too,
establishment,
right?
But
They get tickets with their sponsorship, and so the other thing is it's like, oh, they meet somebody and they're like, oh, that's the commercial realtor guy for Axos, and they see the logo and they're like, you won't know that direct click of business from that unless somebody says something specifically, but that's how it could start is they see it and then they make that association and they're like, all right, well that's what I want to reach out to.
that's fantastic, man. On a personal note for you, because you are a filmmaker as well, you work on movies. Do you have anything you're working on, or that you can talk about, or that's
Yeah,
going on?
I have a direct-to-lifetime movie starting on May 8th. I'm actually in prep for that right now, so it's been a bit of a struggle trying to, we're scouting locations, we're setting up payroll, we're working on production insurance, all of the fun stuff that we do on that. Actually, both of the tech guys down there that I have are both crew members of mine. So
Okay.
Michael's my production coordinator, Gino's my media manager. So we're all going to be filming on the 8th, but I also am leaving town. I have a family graduation, and my daughter's got to be moved out of her dorm in New York, and so I'm trying to knock all of that out before I leave town so that I can sleep good at night while we're going. But yeah, that's part of the reason I was saying I think the industry is getting busy. That starting on May 8th will be my 4th feature this year.
Oh, wow.
Oh, okay.
So it was a rough first 3 months, but we did a movie called Mala in Sarasota in January. I did the Derby Romance, which is now renamed Hats for Love, that's airing on Hallmark on May 3rd. And then I did another Lifetime movie called Mardi Gras Murders that we actually filmed Mardi Gras at Mardi Gras.
Oh, wow.
Oh,
which was
okay.
super cool. Yeah, we were
That couldn't have been easy.
I was gonna say, that's,
So the only reason that they decided that they really wanted to film the real Mardi Gras was because we got an in with the Orpheus crew, and the Orpheus parade is like the second largest Mardi Gras parade. So we got a blanket release from Orpheus crew, basically saying we could film with their floats, we could film their people, and there's a scene, sort of not quite a chase scene, but they're in what's called the den, where they keep their floats and all of this, and there's sort of like a stalker scene, and so it was cool. We basically spent 3 days of filming there, establishing the whole movie as New Orleans. So we did all of our B-roll, all of our establishment
okay.
shots, and then we had probably half a dozen speaking scenes. But then you have those scenes in the den, and then you have the parade where we actually filmed that Orpheus parade because that's what we were permitted to do. But
And the rest was filmed over here in Florida? Or?
no, that one unfortunately was Kentucky.
Oh,
So
okay.
they just I had 3 houses here that could have been cheated as like New Orleans style mansions. One of them's a museum, and they just weren't going to let us film for 10 days. So up in Kentucky though, they're a dime a dozen. Those size houses, and they're a lot more affordable to film in than it would have been
Oh, really?
to film down here. So the Derby Romance movie did get an incentive here, and of course it was like snow on the ground in Kentucky when we filmed that. So the fact that we had green grass was what brought that movie here.
Gotcha.
And that was great because that was a SAG production, and that's really what I'm trying to do is bring bigger productions here. That was probably double the budget of what you see on a normal Lifetime
Oh, really?
Hallmark movie. Yeah, it's definitely double the budget of the one I have coming up. So this one. This one, Just Breathe, is for Reel One. The Hallmark movie was through Johnson Group, so it just depends on who's got what deal and what they're looking for. But I just help produce the movie. I don't have any say on who the director is. They basically fly in the director, the DP.
Oh, really?
They give us the script, and then I just crew it up and help them with the logistics of locations, catering, travel, all of that. Behind the scenes stuff that allows them to do their creative stuff. Yeah.
all the fun stuff. Man.
Yeah. They can't do what they want to do without somebody like me.
Absolutely.
You know? So that's what keeps me busy.
Absolutely, and that's another big thing. Like a lot of people don't realize. Well, I think it's becoming a little more aware now because indie market is like people get to see a little bit more behind the scenes or meet more people that are doing that type of work, and
And it's
now
also,
they're starting to realize better.
I think it's also, like they're putting a lot more emphasis on that at the end of their movies as well. You'll see a lot more, it's not just Marvel movies that are, here's like, the extended credit at the very end, but they'll like put like the be real, like this is where everyone messed up their lines, or and then cast and crew like jokes or stuff like that.
They're called
Yeah.
bloopers, Gavin.
Well, okay, fine.
But also just make more awareness to like the people that actually like make it happen,
Right.
so that they can make their end happen. Like all the pieces are there, but
Yeah.
it's just unfortunate. Like the behind the scenes, people don't get to see it as much. But
Well,
I
and that
do.
was did Christian Cashmere do a podcast with you guys?
No, I don't think so. Yeah,
No.
I'm almost at a blur with names at this point now because it's a bad problem. It's a good problem to have is that we had so many interviews.
Absolutely.
But I'm like, there's some names we had like multiple people on some, but I wasn't.
No, I don't believe we talked with Christian.
So Christian and I produced a movie together last year called Mother Nature and the Doomsday Prepper. I was wearing the shirt yesterday.
that was airing here this year, wasn't it?
No, it wasn't in this year. So we had talked to Tony about trying to get it as the opening night movie, but when he got the opportunity to Four Down, that was Tony's movie. He had been working a long time to bring that movie to fruition. So, and it really wasn't ready. It's ready now, and so we're working on distribution for that. But part of our contract to get the incentive from Pinellas County was that we had to do a BTS video for that. And usually the typical contract for both Pinellas and Hillsborough is just 5-minute testimony, right? How great it is to come and film here. Tyler cares about production, right? He wants to bring more production here, whereas everything in Pinellas County is tourism based. So it's come visit here, look how beautiful it is, and Tyler wants you to say, we've got such high production value, and this film commission's so easy to work with, and you should come here and make your movie. So he cares about production people, and Pinellas County cares about tourists. But we had to make a video for it, and Christian did this amazing 10-minute BTS video that Pinellas County just posted.
Okay.
Not too long ago, and then Christian released the trailer because it was like Mother Nature or whatever. He released the trailer on Earth Day, which I thought was clever. But yeah, that's exactly what you're talking about. Is they're using that to sort of portray everything, and of course he's promoting the LED wall in that as well, because we did like 7 days of filming with different scenes on a pirate ship and all these different types of things in front of the LED wall, where you have this immersive background and the colors are just amazing. We did the greenhouse in front of the LED wall. We did the gates of Olympus in front of the LED wall, and it was a really good experience, which is so much different than what I do on a normal basis, because these Lifetime and Hallmark movies, everything is shot very practically. You don't have the budget to go do a bunch of special effects or VFX. It is, if you have violence, a lot of times it's implied violence. And it's like you don't see the stab, that you just see the knife sticking out of the leg, right? Because it's again, you have to know who your customer is, and if it's not going to sell for a certain amount, then you're going to have to make it for less, and that's what we have to do. So everything I do is very practical. So when I had a chance to jump on that with Christian and work in front of the LED wall, I was like, absolutely. Yeah. Well, plus it's like got a little sci-fi element. Like there's Greek gods and Olympus and all that, and I love sci-fi, so I was like, I don't get to do sci-fi because that usually involves a lot of VFX and stuff like that, and that costs money. So, so yeah, I jumped on that. But that's exactly what you're talking about, is just using these types of videos and things like that. And when I watch it, 10 minutes is a long BTS video, but it was actually really, really well done. So I would recommend you guys check that out.
Oh, definitely will. I mean, you said that's available on Pinellas County site?
Yeah, Pinellas County. So we provided that to them as a deliverable,
Okay.
and then they posted it, which is great because we have a private screening coming up for that. That's one of the requirements for the deliverables too, and we're going to do like a cast and crew type of thing for them to come see. I think we're doing it at Greenlight Cinema, actually,
Okay.
around the corner. So
Very cool, man. Well, again, first of all, thank you again, you guys. We thank Doug, we thank Tony Arbor, all of you guys.
Well, maybe not Doug.
Hey, we thank
Maybe
everybody.
not.
Definitely Ben, though.
No, but you
Yeah,
guys
definitely
We'll thank Ben.
Yeah,
We'll thank
well,
Ben.
thanks, Ben. But no, you guys have always been very welcoming to us. We kind of just stumbled into this thing randomly, and then but every time we come, you guys are always very accommodating, very helpful. Come join us to talk about
Yeah,
things.
no,
So
thank you. I didn't know you guys started the same year I started, so that's,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
just assumed you guys had always been here. So,
but no,
Fake it till you make it.
right, yeah, so comfortable. We're gonna just take this space here.
We've always been there.
But no, it's been great. Great festival. I know, we're going to be, like I said, this is kind of a wrap-up day for everybody, really.
Yeah.
But, just want to, again, say thank you guys so much. Thanks for making us feel so welcome. Thanks to all the filmmakers, for
Yeah,
helping us.
thank you guys. It helps promote us. It gets the word out there, and some people didn't know we were here. We've got multiple film festivals in the area,
Yep.
so we want to be able to market and get out there. So I appreciate you guys as well.
100%.
Absolutely. And for you, the viewers, we are continuing day 4 of Sunscreen. Like I said, wind down day, but we still got a few more interviews to come up. So coming up. So just
We got
stick
at least
with us.
2 scheduled. To see
Yeah, at
what
least
else we
2
can
more.
squeeze
Yep.
out.
But we'll talk to you in a bit. Until then, for Movie Talks and Chill, we're your hosts. I'm Tony Serrano.
I am Gavin Butts.
I'm Sneezy McPatrick.
And you, sir.
All right, Cameron Brumbelow.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you guys.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, sir.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, I was gonna come here around now, but
They show up. They show up.
Yep.
But look who did show back up with us.
said
It's
I would.
Doug.
I didn't get to do it yesterday.
I know. It's awesome, man. Well,
Unfortunately.
give us a rundown
Yeah.
of how things been going.
Other than-
Holy shit.
Yeah, other than that, I need a Bloody Mary right now.
Yeah.
I only have a coffee.
That hair of the dog would be great.
Yeah. That's just what a great. I don't even know how to. I can't even get the words out. Obviously, this has been probably one of the best festivals, years we've had. Everybody's having a good time. Everything's gone very smoothly. Little things always happen here and there, but very smoothly. Yesterday we had many sold out theaters and sold out workshops, which is amazing. Hung out with a lot of cool people. Last night's party, which you guys were at.
Yep.
Wasn't that
Oh,
fun,
that was
guys?
amazing.
Absolutely. I showed up.
Yeah, you
And
showed
I
up.
stayed the whole time.
I know, and Patrick showed up too.
I left around 10 o'clock.
Unfortunately. I know. I went back to the table, and I'm like, "Where's Patrick?" They're like, "He left." I'm like, "That's son of a."
I tried looking for you, but
I know it's fine. The problem with these things is I get pulled in 1,000 million directions.
It was the awards that started it, and then the bar closed. He said, "Well, bar's closed. I'm leaving."
I was gonna stick around for one more beer. It was like, oh, the
you know
universe
it's
is telling me.
reopening, right?
Wait, oh yeah, it only closed for that.
Right.
And literally,
It reopened halfway through.
I was gonna say because I had a guy go get me a drink halfway through. I think they told them because Tony wanted a drink, and I think they said, "Just don't know, stay me,"
Yeah.
Just him, nobody else. Just
Just
keep it on the low low.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I told my buddy, I said, "Hey man, can you get me a drink?" And he went down because I was stuck at the stage. But no, it was a lot of fun, and everybody. It seemed like everybody had a great time.
Yeah.
It was a
Oh, yeah.
beautiful night. Thank the Lord it didn't rain.
Yeah.
And it was cool out.
Yeah. Especially
And,
with the had that nice breeze coming in
Yep.
from the bay.
Yeah.
What was the contingency plan if it started pouring?
I don't know if we had one.
Run.
I think we were just on that let's just see what happens.
Yeah.
Win a t-shirt contest.
Yeah, I mean,
Really.
really, yeah, with starring Patrick. Yeah, I don't know, but it worked out perfect. It was so nice, and it was even a little breezy too. So it wasn't
Yep.
like the night before. I felt it was kind of sweltering. I was like, oh, geez. I think part of it is it's supposed to rain all day on Monday, so I think
Yeah.
So the weather's been whatever, but as it gets closer, you get more humidity and stuff. So, good. I'm glad Monday is when I want it to rain. So.
I could just spend the day inside editing all day.
Yeah, and I'll be watching movies or chilling probably or whatever. So
Sleeping.
sleeping, yeah, that too. Yeah. Excuse me. I don't like to do that on a podcast, but I'm a little tired.
It's Sunday.
It's Sunday.
It's
But
Sunday.
Sunday, so today there's a bunch
At least
of
you have a
movies
voice
playing.
this Sunday.
At least I have a voice this year.
Yeah.
Last year I didn't even have a voice, so that's another good thing. But yeah, we have a lot of good movies playing, a couple of good panels, and then everything kind of wraps up between 5 and 6. Last movie started between 3 and 4, and then basically we'll just start packing up our stuff. You guys, will be here till the afternoon.
Yep.
And then, so it's the last day. It's going to be a good day. And, I hope everybody comes back next year or just comes next year if you've never been. All are welcome. If you have a film, you're listening to this, you have a film, submit it to us. I'll take a look at it, see if we can get you in the festival. And
Just don't put Patrick's name on it. He probably won't even read the email.
No.
Created and directed by Patrick. Well,
Nope.
fuck that.
Yep.
And Sunday's always kind of like the bittersweet day because it's like,
is,
you're exhausted. You got through it. You're like, yes, okay, we can relax now or in a little while. But then it's like, damn, it's over already.
Yeah.
It's like,
No, there
3 days
definitely is
went
like a
by.
melancholy feeling a little bit
Yeah.
today in my heart, in my heart and my body and my soul. My body actually aches more. But no, there's definitely that. And, because you have to think that people don't realize this. This is a year in the making.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So we've been working on this for a year. Because literally, not Monday necessarily, but like in
You
the
take a
next
week
couple
off
weeks,
and then you
basically, and then we're at it. We're
Right
like,
back
okay,
at it.
What are we doing for the 21st? So that being said, it'll be, I think it's good,
Nice.
and I'm excited about seeing what. I don't know how we're gonna top last night though for next year. Like
Yeah.
it was pretty. It was real.
I know a guy.
Oh,
Throw something at.
Well, I mentioned. I think we need to get a blimp. And float it across.
Yeah, can we get the Goodyear blimp
Yeah.
from the
Yeah,
Still read
AJ
that,
Stadium?
right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Have a Stay Puft Marshmallow Man coming through downtown St. Pete.
Exactly. But we're
to the
inside
scale
of
of
it.
the movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, we'll be inside the Statue of Liberty. That one coming through.
Yes.
Mortal
Or
Kombat.
is it someone building a model of the Titanic? Can we get that as like the dock up here? And
We can do everything. We can do all three.
I don't know. All the
Why
tables
limit
slanted.
ourselves?
the whole thing might have a slant.
Yeah.
Why limit
But,
ourselves to
yeah.
one
Trying
thing
to-
when we can do all three?
Right,
Statue of
yeah.
Liberty, Stay Puft, fighting over the Titanic.
Yeah.
Who's going to take the Titanic? But no, on our end too, like we talked offline, but we had, as every year, tremendous interviews. But this
Yep.
year, just the number and the amount of the length that it went longer, which is a good problem to have. It's not
Very
even a
good.
problem; it's a good
It's
thing
a-
to have. But we would usually each year, we ask like 3, 4, 5, 6 questions. They answer, and then we talk and whatever. This year, you ask one question, people are just go. And they were almost
and
answering questions.
People love
before
talking
we-
about their projects.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
I'm with them. I do that too. Obviously, we're here. I mean, I could talk all morning. Obviously, I kind of have a time crunch because I have to do a Q&A. But,
Yep.
other than that, I mean, I just wanted to come on and kind of say that this was kind of, it's been great. I'm
No,
really,
this is an
really
awesome
happy.
year.
And it's
Can't
the
wait
first
till next year.
It's the first year I haven't been super stressed out, which is good. Most years I have a little bit of stress going on. Slightly, but this year's been pretty chill, like very, and I don't mean that like, it just means it's working. That's what
Yes.
it means.
Yeah.
It means the people are doing what they need to do. I'm not having to step in and do something that isn't even really part of what I do. We have departments for a reason. We try to keep our departments, it's just like a film set is how we kind of run it, where we have like, we have directors and we have whatever, and different crews that do different things, and we all kind of stay in our own lane to kind of, be like, hey, this is what I do. This is my job,
Yep.
and I'm doing it. You do your job, kind of thing.
Yeah,
And
they
it's
take
working
full
really well.
ownership on
Yeah,
that,
and you
yeah.
take full ownership of whatever your job is. Like I take full ownership of the programming. I take full ownership of the scheduling. So like, there's already things I'm seeing for next year that I need to do different. And I'm learning every year that happens. We also tried a new system this year that we had a little bumpy road on it early on. Now that we're at the third day, of course, I think everybody's good now. But I think going forward, it will be really good. Also, what it helps me with is it gives us data
Yeah.
that I can use next year to know what do people like, what do people not like, what kinds of movies are people coming to, and that's what's great about it because we're collecting that, and I know people hate to hear that. But we're not selling it. Don't worry.
Yeah.
It's internal. It's just yeah. Well, that's why we don't give it to Patrick. He'll do anything for a buck.
Not even.
Yeah.
You got a
whole
couple
dollar?
quarters in your.
Yeah. You got a couple quarters.
Except talk to a girl.
Hey, wait. Do I
No.
owe money?
No.
No, he lost out on $260.
Did we explain that on podcast?
No,
No.
we shall not.
All right.
We'll do a behind the scenes one.
Yeah. That's on
In
our.
a
We'll
couple
do
weeks
one when
after
he goes to get a cigarette. We'll do it real quick.
Yeah.
It's on our Patreon.
I have somewhere to be there.
I know you do have somewhere to be in a minute, but
Yeah, no
again,
worries.
congratulations to Sunscreen for 20 years. Congratulations to you guys. You guys did an amazing job.
Absolutely.
Thank you again so much for having us here.
Of course.
You
Well,
know,
thank you guys for coming out again and helping us out and even letting me on the podcast outside of here. I always have a good time. I'm sure I'll be back on in a few, probably a month or so, whenever you guys get back to.
we'll get you your shirt. The other podcast.
Yeah, I want
Yeah.
that. The other podcast.
The other podcast
yeah.
guy.
It's
And-
written in red for blood because
Yeah.
he's killed one
Actually,
of us.
it should say the podcast guys and Doug.
I also
And-
know you
and,
guys are coming up on your 5th. No,
So,
Yeah.
fourth.
well, we're
July
coming,
would
so
be
the end of
4
our
year.
4th year. So our
Yeah.
beginning of our 5th year will be in July.
Yep.
Okay, congratulations, by the way. That's
Thank
awesome.
you.
Thank you, thank you.
And maybe I'll come back on for that too. And do
Absolutely.
it like we did last year. I did that.
And we'll
Like
you
verse
know,
for wall and we'll
Yeah.
questions.
we'll
Or something. We'll do something fun
and
for it.
and we'll work on the
We'll
golf
go to
round, too.
courtside like we always
Gotta do
do.
that.
Yep.
Yeah. I know. Yeah. Exactly.
Last year we played a round of golf in July. We're not doing that again this year.
I don't care. I'll do it.
Well, I'll do it. Maybe a little earlier. But
Yes. Yeah.
we'll get out at 6
That was a miserable day.
Yeah.
But again, seriously, thank you, Doug. Thank you,
Yep.
Sunscreen. Congratulations, Sunscreen, on 20 years. Can't wait to see what the next 20 looks like.
Yep.
And hopefully we're all still here.
I was
for
gonna
it.
say, yeah. We'll see. Hopefully.
All right, guys.
All
but
right.
For Movie Talks and Chill, continuation of day 4. You know who we are. You know who Doug is. And he'll be back on with us in a couple
Doug.
weeks
Oh, yeah.
to give us some more
It's
follow-up.
Doug funny.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Take care.
All right.
All right, everybody. Welcome back to the continuation of Sunscreen.
Day 4.
Yay, right on, dude.
And that's all the energy he has.
Yes. he's got it
And now I'm going to go nap.
So today we're joined with, if you mind introducing yourself, sir.
Yeah, no, totally. My name is Vincent Marcucci.
Okay, nice to meet you. And welcome. And what brings you to Sunscreen?
Yeah, so I'm an environmental filmmaker. I would say that's my focus. Environmental documentary is really what I like to do most. I have worked in narrative shorts before, and directed and written narrative shorts, but I've been writing environmental documentaries and really directing them, editing them for about almost 7 years now. And one of the documentaries that I recently made called Garden of the Glades, a week at Conservation Ranger Camp. That was made with the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service and the National Wildlife Refuge Association, and really excited about the film. And that was accepted here and played on Friday.
Oh, nice.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, it was played Friday evening, and we were excited with the reception around it.
Oh, fantastic, man.
Were you able to? There was another environmental documentary here about bird conservation. There was a PhD ornithologist here. Were you able to see that movie?
I was not. No,
okay.
I wonder. Do you remember the name of it?
No, I remember the director was Andy Rice and the ornithologist was Dave. Insert last name.
Okay, I'll have to look into it. No, I didn't know, but that is awesome. Yeah, film festivals are so cool because of that. There are sometimes just big asteroids that fly by, and sometimes you miss it, and then sometimes you catch it, and sometimes you're just meeting random people who you never meet before.
Yeah.
Yeah, we almost got a honorary PhD.
Yeah, because they were both
done.
PhD professors at the University of Miami in Ohio.
But they did say we had some transferable credits that they'd sign off on.
Nice. Okay.
Going to grad school.
So you said on the Everglades, correct?
Right. Yeah. So the story follows a group of teenagers they were born and raised in the northern Everglades, which is a community called the Glades, just south of Lake Okeechobee, on the rim of Lake Okeechobee. And this group of high school students is invited to a 5-day summer camp with the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, where they learn how to do these hands-on conservation skills so that they can go into a career in, wildlife ranger or wildlife protection, environmental careers. Yeah, different opportunities in that realm.
Okay.
And so, the main goal of the camp is really just to get them connected with nature. And so the film follows the students as they do that.
Okay.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
Now, does any of that, because obviously with conservation and stuff, we know in Florida, especially in the Everglades, we have a massive python. I don't know what you'd actually call it, not infestation, or is that the right
Invasion.
word? Invasion, there you go. Does that cover anything like that, or it does?
Well, it's funny. So the 5-day ranger camp was packed full of activities. They were doing all kinds of different stuff, and there were different specialists coming in from different organizations teaching the students how to do different things. One of those things was how to safely catch a python. That was really cool. That was and we only get a little snippet of it in the film. It's not a big part of it because they were doing a lot of other things. They were learning how to fish, so the kids were pulling fish out of the water for the first time. They were learning archery, so they were learning how to, shoot bow and arrow. Also catching invasive frogs, Cuban tree frogs, which eat other native frogs in Florida. So they were learning how to catch those frogs, and it was a lot of cool stuff. But anyway, yeah, they did get some Python time, and they got some Python knowledge.
Unfortunately, I won't probably be taking that course myself because I am deathly afraid of snakes. And
We'll
whether
just
they're
give you a
poisonous or
machete.
not.
You don't
I was
catch
gonna
them.
say, yeah, he would not. He would not learn the safe way to remove them. He would just throw grenades in the Everglades.
Yeah, anytime I traveled, because I'm born and raised here in the St. Pete area, anytime I've gone down to like the Keys or something, or over to Miami, and you got to go through Alligator Alley. It's the easiest way. And there's a nice little road called, I think it's
Little
called like
rest stop.
Snake Road or something, or one of those roads. I just make sure before I even get on there from Naples, I'm like, do I have 8 spare tires?
Yeah.
7 cans of gas? 'Cause I want to get in and out of there as quickly as possible.
And they even have signs on the side of the road. It's like, dude, try not to get out of your car and do not feed the animals.
Yeah.
Wow.
So what kind of got you into this specific field or wanting to do this particular film?
Yeah, so I think what got me into this field was I'm from Cape Coral, which is about 2 hours south of here, on the southwest coast of Florida, and I grew up going outside a lot for sure. My mom always had me in the garden, and then when I was in high school, a couple friends saw that I was making a lot of skateboarding videos, and they invited me on this Sea Scout expedition. It was like a week-long sailing trip, and they asked me to document it for them.
Okay.
Now, my video skills were still really amateur at the time, so the videos weren't that, they were just like little music videos. But it was tons of fun to go on this sailing expedition with them because we were doing stuff with the park rangers at this national park we stayed at, the Dry Tortugas National Park. We were free diving, we were sailing, just watching sunsets, doing a lot of great stuff outside, and I fell in love with the ocean then. I fell in love with like nature, and so then I knew I continued to kind of build on my skill of video production and producing and directing a team, and I wanted to combine it with this passion that I had also grown in my heart for being outside and connecting people with their environment, because that's how I felt, as a teenager. To be connected with nature was a pretty profound experience that has influences all over life, I feel like.
And that helps. Like that's another way to drag people, or not drag, but like bring
Kicking and
them
screaming.
in like to that. Something that they wouldn't have that mindset to go into. You give them almost like that magic feel, and that gets them hooked, and so then they want to learn more.
I love that you said that. Exactly. There's a magic feeling that comes with being outside. I mean, like in the story in the film, there's this one there's a group of 13 students. We follow 2 students really closely. One of them, her name is Jordan. She honestly was like skeptical about signing up for the camp. In the beginning, we interview her and she's like, I don't even like being in mud. She's like, stepping in mud grosses me out. She's like, I don't even know why I'm going to this camp. Someone just signed me up for it. And then throughout the week, we see her really get closer. And even though she's uncomfortable a lot of the time, she gets closer and closer with being outside and being comfortable there. And by the end of the week, she goes in with a group of students waiting in the wetlands. And so there's like, 10 of these students are walking hip deep in the wetlands. And we have them on video with the rangers walking with them. And after we see some of the gators around through the week, it definitely would put you on edge to be there. But she, by the end of the film, she's talking, she's like, I would have never thought in my life that I'd be doing something like this, and those kind of magical experiences, I think, are what propel us to want to, in the future, try and conserve the land and waters that we have so that they aren't exploited for their resources, and then we lose the wildlife and lose the human connection with it as well. Yeah.
Now, is this the? Do you have the film submitted to other film festivals? Is this like the first one you're at, or has it played anywhere else yet? Or?
So this is the first festival that it's played at. There are a couple others it's submitted to. We haven't heard back yet. And then, actually, just recently, it's exciting that I've been working with PBS because they had taken one of my South Florida PBS had broadcasted one of my previous films, which is actually how this documentary came about too. I could get into that in a second, but South Florida PBS took this documentary, Garden of the Glades, and this week, this past week, they broadcasted it in Miami, Dade, Broward, and Palm Beach counties. Actually, tonight is the premiere on television for South Florida PBS at 9 p.m. in Palm Beach County on WXEL.
Oh, very nice.
Yeah. Yeah, exciting.
Nice. Well, congratulations on that, man.
Thank you.
And you said that the previous film was kind of how connected to this one. How did that work?
Yeah, totally. So, and it also kind of goes back to your question of how this project came about. So, my last year of college so I went to school at UCF in Orlando, studying film as my major, environmental science as my minor, and then started making documentaries, environmental documentaries, throughout my time. My last year of college, I made this anthology with a big team of people. It definitely wasn't just me making this thing, as films go. Big team of people, brought them on board and directed this anthology called Tales of Sunshine, Florida Eco Stories. And that was like 4 20-minute episodes. Each episode was about a different environmental activist in a different part of Florida.
Okay.
So there was a fisherman, a mermaid, a biologist, and a farm worker. So we get these different people's lives, and we kind of follow them on their journey, whatever they're kind of fighting against at that time. And so making that came out in 2022, and it is publicly available now to view. But one of the episodes went to South Florida PBS, and then someone had seen it and reached out to me about this project, and that's kind of how this came to be.
Nice.
So for documentaries, how do you get like the story behind it? Because a lot of times, you have movies like I just really liked, we had a gentleman on who really fell in love with like alien abductions. So that was kind of the center of a lot of his writing. So do you have an idea around what you want to do, or do you get like maybe funding for a project and they say, hey, we want to bring to light this? So do you have a lot of that creative leeway for it, or do you have to follow a strict line of programming from where you're getting any kind of funding?
Yeah, great question. So I would say, to start with kind of the end of the question, the funding for documentaries is it's kind of a tough industry to find the funding and then also to secure it. I mean, there's definitely funding available, but it's an important ethical boundary, I believe, that like if you're getting funding from a resource, and if you're calling this like a documentary, then it can't really just be like a commercial.
Sure.
You want to have, hopefully in the work that I do, I'd really like to continue having creative freedom, and that's what I really liked about this film. So the National Wildlife Refuge Association, brought me on to make the film because they had the event, and they just wanted someone to document it, and they were like, you can create this film how you want.
Okay.
Originally we were aiming for 15 minutes, and then it got to 30 minutes. Oh, I convinced them. I was like, it has to be 30 minutes. Because we just have too much stuff. It was like 7 days back to back of full production days recording things, and then it comes to the writing part of the question. The exciting thing, the thing that I love about documentary, this type of documentary that I make, right, is that it's so spontaneous and like it's kind of a living animal that you kind of like wrestle with as you go.
Right.
So in the beginning, I had some ideas about where the story could go, and that's why, I knew it was about 13 students. We knew they were going to this National Wildlife Refuge camp, and so I started to write down, okay, like if we can follow at least 2 of these students really closely, that can give the audience someone, like people to really
Like connect with.
align with, right? Mm-hmm. And then we can get the adults of the program to just sprinkle some important information throughout it, so we get some background info. And that's what I went in hoping for. And then once we started off, we did the interviews, got the B-roll, and everything's happening day by day. It's not going to happen again. So we're recording, and you don't get a second chance, really.
Yeah.
You just got to make sure you're
That's
shooting
the take.
Yeah, that's the take. Like that's everything we're doing. And then at the end of the week, or after that production week, then I take it home, listen to all the interviews, break down and transcribe the interviews, and then take out selects, right, or just like highlight different meaningful sound bites that people are saying, put that into a script and create a puzzle. And that puzzle is like the most exciting part for me because it feels like a living thing. And if one part doesn't really work as well, then we start to move the puzzle piece around and move the story around. So this is really different than writing like a short narrative where maybe in the front end, yeah, you can move that puzzle around, but in this case, you already have all of the footage. Mm-hmm. You have everything you need. And
you can't do reshoots.
Yeah, no, there's not really reshoots. Yeah. you know, maybe in some documentary, in some cases, you can flag someone down and get another interview. But in this case, I moved to Brooklyn about a year ago, so when I went back to Brooklyn after coming down to Florida to record this, I was like, this is it. I'm not coming back. I'm not coming back for an interview. So, yeah, it was really important we get everything right the first time. And but yeah, thanks for asking. Great questions.
Quick question. You said your first film you followed, one of your people you followed was a mermaid. Did you have to go out to WikiWatchy for that?
Yeah, so that's what a lot of people they first think of as WikiWatchy, because that's where the performing mermaids are. So this one, her name's Michelle. She lives in Ocala, I believe, still to this day, but she's from South Florida, and there are actually mermaids
everywhere.
Crazy Florida experience. There are mermaids all over Florida, and by mermaids, you can say they're performing artists there who wear like mermaid tails and maybe go to commercial events, and that's how maybe someone explained them. The one that we interviewed, Michelle, she like very much saw herself as a mermaid.
Really? She lives that life.
She lives the mermaid life, and she's also a water rights activist in Ocala. So what the importance of that is she swims in the springs, and that's how I had kind of heard about her. As I was learning how to scuba dive, and I saw mermaids at the spring, and I was like, what the heck? Like, what is this about? And I talked to them, and she looks for the importance of preserving Florida springs so that we can continue to have clean drinking water, because Florida's aquifer, runs on one part of the cleaning process is spring-fed water. And her focus is preserving water rights in Florida.
Nice.
I think it was I want to say it was either the first or second year that we were here. There was a film about.
They were launching. I don't know if we could, because they had us edited out. I don't know if we could talk about this.
You don't have to say what it was, but it was either
it was a YouTube series.
Yeah, a YouTube series, and so we're not going to name.
But they also had a short here, I think, that was.
I don't know if that one was about mermaids though.
Well, they showed up in costume.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
So this whole thing was like 15 or 20 mermaids here.
Yeah.
Like tails and all, like in like gown dresses, but the bottom of the gown was tails.
Yeah.
And it was about either the first or second year, because this is our
It was
fourth
second year, yeah. I think it was our second year.
Because we also had the producers saying, "Oh, we've got this new web series coming up," and then 2 minutes later, she was talking with her producer, and she's like,
We need to pull that."
That thing I said, we need to dump that."
Yeah.
So her interview went from 15 minutes to 3.
Yeah, gotcha. Okay, that's funny. And the people love mermaids though. Either way, whenever you
Absolutely,
bring it out.
yeah.
I'm just curious if maybe one of the women in that was maybe the person that maybe you had met. It'd be interesting to find out.
Yeah.
'Cause-
Maybe. Well, the funny thing about this is 3 years ago, that film I mentioned, or anthology, Tales of Sunshine, Florida Eco Stories, that anthology is 4 episodes, and it was shown here at Sunscreen Film Festival, and it was combined together to make a feature. So that was playing in theater for 3 years ago.
Oh, wow.
There's too much overlap. That must be the same
That's
thing.
what I'm saying. I was like, well, if it's not, it's a hell of a coincidence.
It's the coincidence, because we definitely did not have a bunch of mermaids.
Yeah.
But that would have been super cool. Yeah, I'm learning about promoting your screening. That is something. It's a learning curve. So
Yeah.
Next time I have a mermaid, I'm gonna call on the mermaid, the merfolk.
The
Yes.
merfolk.
I'll
I
call
like
on the
that.
merfolk. Yeah, I'll
Sounds
logo
like
horn.
Eldritch
Yeah,
horror.
you need,
like
you
monsters
need a
coming out of
yeah,
the
it's,
ocean.
it's, it's a
Seashell,
giant
you're
conch
just-
shell.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Do that too loud. I don't want them showing up now. I'm gonna go home. Shit.
So do you so you got this one done? You've got that one. Is there a next project you're already in thinking about that you can even speak on, or an idea for a project that you may want to talk about, like what the next big thing is?
Yeah, I can say that right now I'm feeling a little bit conflicted about which direction to go. I'm 26, and I'm seeing that this is not, it's not yet a stable career, and I don't think no one's ever told me that documentary filmmaking is a stable career. So I'm kind of unsure of which way and how to move from here. At the same time, living in Brooklyn, I know that there's a story, at least one there, that I'm interested in and might move forward on. And I play soccer with a group of asylum seekers from different countries, but a lot of different countries from Africa. And seeing this group kind of come together and the mutual aid focus that they have of like sharing resources and having fun playing soccer and like really friendly games. But they started their own league, and I'm interested in covering that. I'm not sure where it will go this year, but that does kind of stray away from some of the environmental conservation stuff I've done. But I'm willing to try out some new things, but I'm hoping ultimately, like if I had an ideal move next, it would be to get up on a marine research vessel and be able to document some of the work of like marine research in like deep sea. Like I would love that, you know what I mean?
Kind of like, like a Jacques Cousteau, like, doing their, like,
You got it.
getting there. Yeah, okay.
Well, it
I
almost
thought of
reminded me
Deadliest Catch first.
Well, that too.
See, and I went to the cinematic way, and I went like Wes Anderson's A Life Aquatic.
Oh, yeah,
with
yeah.
Steve is
Not
using.
exactly in that style,
Right.
But it's what I think of. I'm like,
That's great. That's like kind of the narrative spin on it. I think the state of conservation right now in the United States isn't looking super, stable or lucrative or even, open for work. Like the NOAA, I know, just laid off a bunch of people, National Oceanic Atmospheric Association. So, but I'm hopeful. I'm hopeful that, wherever I need to go next, I'm there. So I'm open to.
You just got to make that next Tiger King.
Yeah.
That was wild. That was a wild. Oh my gosh. That was like 2020.
Yes.
Yeah.
If
Imagine
COVID
never
didn't
watching
happen,
that.
that would not have been as popular as it was.
What a takeoff.
I know.
Oh my
Yeah, Animal Crossing and Tiger King.
Yep.
The first month of lockdown, everyone's like, I don't care. What's outside? Who needs it?
well, it's like when you talk about like nature preservation or even animals and stuff like that. There's in Seminole, so Pinellas County, St. Pete area. There's a city, I'm not sure how familiar you are with over here. So basically, you have Clearwater, Seminole, Largo. It's all basically the same thing. They're about maybe 2 seconds away from each other. There's a person who lives in Seminole, kept his land there. It's like not a huge farmland, but he's got just his home on a good couple acres of property there, down the street from a bunch of developments. And every once in a while, my mother used to live up the road from there, and you would hear this roaring. And I was like, what is that? And she's like, oh, that's the tiger. And I'm like, the tiger? Okay. So when you said Tiger King, but apparently he has gotten, I've seen it. I went down there, and he doesn't let people just come up. You have to, he has a notation you have to call and everything, but he's got a gorilla, tiger, he's got a couple other big animals that normal people would not have or be allowed to have. Now, he's got licensing for it.
Right.
But yeah, if you ever want to do something on that, that would be the guy to talk to. Right?
The former Lowry Park Zoo, just go there. That's your side day.
Yeah, I don't even know what got him into it.
Yeah.
It's just like I said, I didn't even really talk to the guy. I was just able to let you go to the fence and kind of see the cages on the back, and they're very well concealed, so animals don't get out. But
Yeah.
the first time I ever heard a tiger roar down the street of
Yeah, in a residential section.
residential area, I'm like, oh, okay, it's a tiger. Cool. Well, there it is. I've seen it all now. I've reached my pinnacle. I'm good.
Yeah, I don't need to get any closer than that.
And I love animals. But I'm like, they're good there. They're fine.
It sounds like you respect the power of animals.
Yes,
Yes.
I do.
I respect the power of a gorilla that could just pick me up by my head, twist, and toss my dead corpse 30 feet that way.
Yeah.
But the other question I had, was for the festival, your film premiered on Friday. You said Friday evening. So Sunscreen, how has Sunscreen been for you? How was your experience been here?
Yeah, absolutely. Like I said, it's my second time coming back to Sunscreen, and I knew coming in that there are really exciting networking events. You could call them that. You can also call them parties, and that's really one of my favorite parts of the festival. Beyond the Q&As, having some Q&As after films, to talk to filmmakers has been really sweet. We did have a little bit of technical issues during my screening, which was frustrating, but we worked them out. And then coming around and still being able to meet the filmmakers that my film screened alongside was exciting. And then talking with them at the awards ceremony last night again, and just getting to know them more, sharing information about our documentaries, and I think this kind of event does open up a lot of. Sunscreen opens up so many collaborative opportunities in the future that are really important. So I'm happy to be here. I'm very grateful that they were willing to screen my documentary on the big screen. That was cool. We have the opening shot is like a gator is a the face of a gator. Like we got real close, and I was using this big lens, and so to see that come up on the screen as the first frame,
Yeah.
I was like, ooh, this is cool. I don't know, I haven't felt that before. That felt really great. Yeah, that felt awesome.
Awesome, man. Well, again, thank you for joining us again to talk about your film. We love hearing about it. This year has probably been one of the most educational for us because we've gotten to see, different films about like what you're doing. The birds. I mean, we talked to one
animation
guy.
professors were here.
Animations. One guy went into the metaphysical.
Oh, yeah,
of
that one.
Filmmaking.
That
and
was
stuff.
true.
So
Maxim.
it's been very interesting. Very cool. So thank you for joining us. Wish you luck on the film. We'll swap out some contact information, and you can keep us up to date as to maybe what's next, and then we'll let you also know when this episode will come out, and then we'll keep in contact. But thank you so much for you guys out there. We are continuing day 4 Sunscreen. Thank you, Patrick. We are Movie Talks and Chill, and again to our special guest, if you wouldn't mind. One more time.
Yeah. Again, my name is Vincent Marcucci, and thank you all so much for having me here. Excited to keep moving forward and creating this kind of work.
Fantastic. All
That's
right,
right.
guys. For you, take care.